Hey, I'm Lord Bounty. I'm going to be talking about my experience with PalWorld and why I think it was successful. I I'm having fun. My experience with the game is great. It's amazing. It's all the positive. There's little negatives, but I'll get to that later. But those negatives don't outweigh the positives, especially for a game that's early access. Most games that are early access are super buggy. They're not they're not really fleshed out well. There's a lot of issues. But with Power World, it almost feels like a fully fleshed out game. Now, I like how the beginning starts. There's no real narrative. There's like barely there's no story. There's just this text that you get from this iPad slash tablet slash whatever you want to call it. It says, the towers are the keys, the tree holds the truth. So super cryptic. You could literally make up your own story. And what I like about that is you're not forced to do certain tasks. Once that's done, you are set into the world of Power World, and then you have tutorials, but you're not forced to do the tutorials. You could just run around and explore as much as you want until you get killed by a Power World since they aggro to you, or you die from starvation, or you die to some weather effect if you can even reach somewhere. Well, if it gets nighttime and you're still alive, it gets cold, and then you could die from that. But that leads me into the mechanics of Power World. The I like the fact of how you have a little bit of everything in this game, which then separates it from its counterpart, which is Pokemon. Like obviously, a big inspiration is Pokemon, and people could say what they want to say. They could say it's a clone copy. In my opinion, I feel like it's this inspiration. The reason why is because it just takes the one core element, which is capturing. So you're just capturing these pals, and that's pretty much it. After that, I mean, then you got breeding, which is the same, but those two mechanics from Pokemon, but that's it. Everything else is Power World, right? Well, Power World, and then the other game mechanics that's out there. But that's how things innovate is by learning game mechanics from other games and then incorporating into their game. Like that's literally innovation, right? You're not stealing. You're just, oh, they did something really great. We're gonna borrow that, and then it's a Frankenstein game. To be honest, it's so much mixture that it became its own thing from all these different mixtures. So the first mechanic we have is base building, right? So you're able to build your base to a certain point as cool as you want. You're limited to your creativity, and you're limited with some of the tools because it doesn't have a lot. It's very bare bones, but your creativity could make it feel like you have so much access to building a cool base if you have that creative mind. Me, I'm very basic because I'm more focused on like how to make the game function versus how cool my base looks, because I'll just get into it now with that. If you build your base in a certain way, your pals are pretty stupid. Like they get stuck in the environment very easily, and they'll get stuck to a point where they get hungry, and then they get so hungry that the hunger level hits zero, and then they die. Well, they get incapacitated, and then you have to revive them, and it's just a whole mess. So that's why I keep my base basic, because the AI in Power World isn't great in terms of like figuring out how to get unstuck and things of that nature. But then we go into the other mechanics. We have the survival, which I mentioned before, with the hunger, and then the cold, and then the heat. But those are easy survival mechanics that you could deal with. Like there's tons of food right in the beginning of the game. There's chickens and sheep that you could beat up with a bat, or you could shoot with a crossbow, shoot with a bow, or even shoot with a musket if you choose so. If you want to go old school or even new school, you can use the Desert Eagle. Well, you have many choices to get your food, and then that helps to keep off obviously the hunger, starvation system, and then you could just wear something that protects you from the cold. Then vice versa, you could wear something that protects you from the heat, and then you don't need to deal with that. And then if you don't, you take dot damage, just to let you know. And then from there we have the gotcha system, which is the best gotcha system because you just have to pay one time. You don't need to be a whale and spend infinite amount of money. You could just pay the one time, and you have a gotcha system for as long as you're enjoying the game. Now, what's this gotcha system with every gotcha system? It's all about um, fusing the same type so they could get a star level. So with the pals, if you get 4 pals, you get 1 star level. You build this machine and then you're able to infuse them, you get 1 star level. And then from there it's 16. And then from there I don't know because I stopped at the second one, the second star level, and I don't remember the number. And then from there we got another system, which is the bosses. You could fight bosses, which is super dope. And each boss feels different because they have so many different skills, which I like. It's really fun fighting the boss. And what's so cool is they have 2 different bosses. Well, they have 3 different ways you can fight bosses because you can also do dungeons, and that's another separate mechanic, which is dungeons. Right, you're exploring this dungeon, and you're looking through it, and then eventually, once you find your route to the boss, you fight the boss, you beat the boss, and then you get rewarded with 2 chests. And but yeah, so what's cool about the bosses on the in the dungeons, and then there's just like bosses you teleport to, is you could capture them, which is oh like because they're bigger and they just look menacing, and then when you capture them, they are bigger and they're just they're just like Godzilla type, and I'm just like this is such a great idea because it's like what like you could say to yourself, oh, I want to capture that pal, and you can. And that's what makes Power World dope. It's like certain things it lets you do because it's just fun. So you have those systems where you have the boss battles, and then you have the dungeons, and then we get into the iframes with the dodge rolls. So the combat feels really good. So we'll get into the combat. Combat feels really great because your pal does his own thing, but you could choose what skills it uses. So you could get these skills fruits and teach your pal all the skills in the game, and then you get to choose the 3 that you wanted to repeat. So you could have your pal choose the 3 and do those 3, so you don't need to like micromanage your pal, which feels great. You can just focus on the dodge rolling and shooting what weapon, or even melee. If you want to melee, you could do that as well. So the dodge roll feels great, and the sometimes the shooting feels good and sometimes it doesn't. Like I guess I don't like the reload time, but it's being realistic in that sense. And I guess that's the only thing that I don't like is because when you're trying to reload and dodge, it stops the reload, so it doesn't the end. You're pretty much cutting the animation, and then you have to reload again. And if you fought more than 1 pal at a time, you know how how frustrating that feels. Like it just sucks, but that's just part of the game. So but the combat overall is great. It's literally I feel like I mean it could be better, everything could be better, but for what it is for right now, it's literally a 9.5. Just 5 more points and it could, I don't want to say it could be perfect, right? But for what it is, it's really great. And then from there, I guess I could just talk about now why I think it's a success, because that's all the game mechanics. Oh well, I didn't talk about the mounts. You could mount well, this is a so, and this what makes Power World even more different from Pokemon is you have certain pals that have unique traits. So you have this fox that literally becomes a flamethrower. You have this bear that you can mount, and then once you mount him, you can shoot a bazooka. And then you have this ghost that I like to call Casper. It's a dark type pal. I call it Casper. And it could, as long as it's part of your team, it would help you fight anything that you're fighting. So you could have 2 pals theoretically. Well, it's not theoretically because you do have 2 pals, but you're stuck with the pal that does the one thing. Just it the Casper pal just shoots like a dark energy ball, and then you have your main pal. So that's its own system where they have some pals have unique features. So in that sense, some pals or well, all pals have utility in their own way. So you could use certain like there's the um I don't know what it's called, but it's literally a porcupine pal, and you could throw it and it'll blow up. So it's like a electric grenade. And also the game has grenades. So and there's many weapons in Power World. As you can see, I'm jumping all over the place because it's just that it has so many layers, and that's why it's a Frankenstein game. But now I'll talk about the success of the game, and I'll wrap up this video. So I think the success of Power World comes from the multiple layers of different mechanics from other games and it's put into this game. The what got you into PalWorld was the Pokemon like feature, but what kept you into PalWorld was its creativity. What was really a standalone is the. Now I'm not sure if any other game has done this. Correct me in the comments below if there are other games that's done this, but the butchering system. This you could literally butcher your pals and get rid of them. But the way it's why it's so funny is because they blur it out. So it's dark humor in that sense. And then this is definitely not in any other game. You could capture human beings. Like how crazy is that? You're literally capturing human beings. So that's a whole ethical thing. It even says this is not ethical. Like it's just making a joke of something that we know that's not ethical. And then if they take it a step further, you could butcher the humans. Like it's just it like Power understands that it's just a game and it's for fun. So I think that's also a contributor to its success. That it doesn't take itself too seriously. And that's how it branches out from Pokemon. Now, Pokemon had the opportunity to innovate, but chose not to. I think this is obviously I'm assuming, I don't know. This is my opinion. I believe they just cater to the younger generation. So that's why I feel like this helps Power World. Power World is catering to more adults and young adults. And also it doesn't take itself serious with the violence. It's just fun. And that's what I feel like some games are missing nowadays, where it's just fun. And I think all that being said is what contributes to its success. So just to reiterate, you come for the Pokemon aspect, but you stay for the power of swag. So with that being said, I'll leave it there. Tell me in the comments below what you like about Power World, what you don't, and catch you in the next one.